Final hour overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel. We got a big hour. The Raptors in action tonight down in Orlando. In-season tournament, their second game of the in-season tournament. And not that anyone really knows how to follow this. I've noticed the Lakers are playing, I think, their fourth in-season tournament game. They're 3-0. They win tonight. They can wrap up Division A of the West. It's very confusing stuff.
Dude, it's nonsense.
Very
Sorry.
confusing.
I know you wanted to give it a chance, and you still are. I think it's nonsense.
Yeah, I think it's going to be nonsense until they get to Vegas, right? When there's four teams left, that's when it will actually feel unique. You'll get four teams in Vegas. You know, there'll be a championship game that is truly absent from the 82-game schedule. A lot of money on the line. You know, we'll see what kind of crowds they get. Will people travel? You know, that's when we're really going to see it. Like right now, it just blends into the 82-game schedule. So, yeah, it is an in-season tournament game tonight, but really it's just Raptors Magic going for a win to see who's going to chase a playoff spot.
Yeah.
You know, like
there's money in the pot. That's how I say to fix the NHL All-Star game. Winner shoves $500,000 cash in his pocket. MVP. That's how you get the All-Star game back on the rails, man.
Yeah, people are mercenaries. They want money. That's really what it is, and you get excited about it. And you know what? Like we've said it before. Anything free, it happens with us when we get food dropped off.
Absolutely.
You see the people come out of the woodwork.
Mm-hmm.
You know, think about cash on the line for some of these.
Remember Al's brother when, like, he would go into security guard mode, setting up the food and displaying it.
Yeah, It was a bouncer basically.
Yes, he was a bouncer / like
food taster.
Bob Barker display artist, where it would be like, and he knew everything on the menu.
Well, that was Boston Pizza. Remember, he said he worked for the Boston Pizza down in Niagara. He used to tend the bar or something, and this guy was breaking down. He had the analytics of the whole menu.
He did,
and it was wild. You talk about tremendous information. This guy was breaking down flavors of wings, different ingredients in the pizza.
Yeah.
You know, the perfect drink that can match it. It was like he was a sommelier for Boston Pizza.
He really was. And you're right. Like if he had a growl on and they had delivered, remember he's in that little windowed area there in the corner?
See it. I'm looking at it right now. It's empty, but there's something going on in there.
He would have his nose pressed up against the window. He would just like a caged animal coming out of there.
Yeah,
going to work.
We're going to make that happen again soon. Our Boston Pizza. I got to try the new square footer that's out, man. It's rave reviews.
Really?
Yeah, it looks outstanding, and we'll get a couple of those delivered up here. We'll make that happen.
Tell me
soon.
what the square footer means. Like each piece is a square.
Yeah, it's just a massive pizza. It's basically it's a reinvention of the wheel is what they're calling it. Instead of a wheel, it's like a square foot of pizza.
Just pizza. I'm all over it.
Yeah.
I'm a creature of habit. I will have to try it, though. I'll try and step out and broaden my horizons a little bit because you know I love BP.
Absolutely. So, Chris Johnston coming up here in a few moments. The NHL is dark tonight. There's no games in the NHL. There's only a few games even in the NBA. Like the NBA's only got 5 games tonight. Everyone's talking about all these buildings that are booked. I don't get it.
Is it concerts? What
it
are
must
we
be.
dealing with?
It must be. There's 5 games in the NBA tonight. So, you know, and Orlando is hosting one. They don't have an NHL team. Atlanta's hosting one. They don't have an NHL team.
Is it like Thanksgiving, like churches are
wonder,
in the buildings or what?
Yeah, I wonder if that's the case. You know, like something's going on. Maybe it's Thanksgiving. Maybe it's just concerts. Maybe it's a complete coincidence. But like Phoenix, the Suns they don't share with the Coyotes. Only the Lakers and the Sixers have a building that would be used by an NHL team. So there's literally 30 buildings in the NHL that are not being taken up by an NBA team anyway right now.
You know,
and they're not playing tonight.
You know what concert I missed? You know what concert I missed that came through Toronto was Blink-182.
Oh, did they? I didn't see that.
Oh, they've had a resurgence or like a world tour again.
Mm-hmm.
I love them, and
they're a good band.
I missed them. I missed them when they came through the Toronto. I think it was like this summer. And I blinked, and it was, I was trying to track their tour, and I, you look up their tour dates, and you realize that they were there 2 days earlier in Toronto, right in our own backyard, and I missed them.
Well, they're like Green Day, right? A 3-man band. They got the 2 kind of lead singers,
Yeah, Tom DeLonge.
Drummer
But the drummer who was in the plane crash, right? Like that's the guy. Like he's.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's a very interesting, very story. But I can't remember the drummer's name. But Travis Barker.
I thought he's like a Kardashian, isn't he?
He is, but he was on he was in a private plane that crashed.
Oh no
and
way!
He survived. Yeah, it's very very scary stuff.
Yeah, Travis
yeah.
Barker. Yeah, he's with the oldest Kardashian, I think.
I think so. He's famous, but he's that band is awesome. And
Okay.
I saw them years ago, but I wanted to see them this time. So you're talking about concerts, like you wonder what, like
Maybe that's
all
what's
these
going
big
on.
bands.
Like honestly, because you look at the NBA, there's 5 games tonight. There's nothing in the NHL. Maybe
Yeah.
CJ has an answer on that.
Exactly.
Here's Chris Johnston, our TSN hockey insider. You're responsible for the schedule as far as we're concerned, CJ. Can you explain why there's no hockey tonight and only 5 NBA games tonight?
I do not have a good explanation. I assume with Thursday being U.S. Thanksgiving and generally dominated by the NFL that it kind of creates a little different ripple through the whole week for schedulers. But it's a bit of a curious one. And quite honestly, I just got back from Stockholm last night and I didn't even realize there were no games today until I woke up this morning.
Yeah. Well, what was it like over there? I mean, it from our vantage point, it sounded like it was just the William Nylander show for basically 4 or 5 straight days.
Yeah, he gave the stage to the odd other person from time to time, but let's face it, he had most of the attention over 5 or 6 days there. You know, from my perspective, it was a really cool experience. You know, especially neat to have so many of the great Swedish players, you know, from Lidstrom to Sundin, Zetterberg, you know, Forsberg, Naslund, all these guys were just hanging around all week. In addition to having 4 teams in one spot, and then obviously watching Willie do his thing with, you know, 90 friends and family around. It was, you know, kind of almost probably something I'll never forget. I'm sure it's something Nylander will never forget. And it was a pretty good business trip for the Leafs, despite some challenges with jet lag and the like, because they got 4 points and got home on Sunday night.
CJ, if you could use one word to describe William Nylander's Tinder account in Sweden, if he had one, what word would you use?
Oh man, I'm gonna. I have nowhere to touch that one. Oh, no. Come on. I mean,
How about we just go with busy?
busy.
Yes. There you go. Swipe right. That would be. That's 2 words, but that would be my guess.
I don't think he had any time for any of that though. Like the guy literally was everywhere. Like he's doing the talk shows, you know, that have nothing to do with hockey. He's doing all the hockey interviews. He's obviously seeing friends and family. I mean, I don't know how he had time.
CJ.
To even
There's
play.
always time.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. That's the insider trading we're looking for. We need the analytics on that front. What the boys were up to in Sweden. We noticed John Klingberg did not play, and somehow over the course of a week, it's gone from he's going to miss a game, then get back in the lineup against Vancouver, where I actually thought he played well. I was in the building for that game. I thought he played well against Vancouver.
Now both his hips are cracked in half.
Yeah, now it's like we may never see him play again. Like, what's going on here with John Klingberg?
Well, I think it's the nature of the injury. You know, the fact.
What
that
is the injury, though?
I mean, I think it's a hip-related issue of some sort.
Okay.
You know, he's had that in his career. I don't know the exact extent of it, but you know, I think it's something he's managed and been managing throughout the season. You know, he obviously, you know, missed a fair chunk of training camp in terms of playing exhibition games and the like. You know, kind of gutted it out for a time there, and then, you know, had to get removed from the lineup. And you know, Sheldon Keefe mentioned that even the flight over, you know, wasn't good to him because he didn't skate for the first couple of days when he got to Stockholm. So, you know, I don't think that I have no reason to believe we're at the stage where we're saying he's never going to play again, but obviously he's dealing with a situation here and you know, that could be a tough thing. I mean, when he was at his best as a player, he skated beautifully. And I think you know, as we've seen with other guys in the league, you know, it's not it's not a foreign problem for people to run into hip issues. And so I don't know the exact nature of it. I think the Leafs don't know the exact nature of it. I'm sure John Klingberg doesn't. They're trying to work through it and manage it. But, you know, maybe there'll be a little more clarity this week or in the coming days now that he's back from Sweden and, you know, he's back in their medical situation. But, you know, obviously not ideal for him. You know, he had played all the games. He misses the one just before they go away. You know, playing in his home country, didn't have a chance to get into either of those games. And, you know, probably more importantly for him as a veteran player in the league, you know, as he said to reporters when we were in Stockholm, he said, I just want to play. It wasn't, you know, about playing on home ice or playing in front of friends and family. It was, wanting to get back into games, and he's limited to a point right now where that wasn't possible.
CJ, you mentioned, his a lingering issue. It almost sounds like, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, if they announced this is something he's been dealing with throughout his career. So, like, going into this season, would they not have been aware, like maybe, medical history, all of that? Obviously, before you sign a guy, like, would they have had any red flags on that, or been assured maybe from the agent or from the player that that's kind of in the past?
Well, I'm sure. I don't think it's a secret
Right.
by any stretch, but and I'm not. I guess the one question I would have is, did something happen in the games he did play that maybe made something worse? I don't know what the answer is there. And look, I think that there's a danger in getting too far ahead of ourselves. I don't know that that he did skate at times in Stockholm. He was on the ice a little bit there, so it's not as though he's completely been disappeared. I think that maybe because there's a little air of mystery here, it's not something the team has publicly commented on too much. I think it might almost be taken on a life of its own. But I'll be interested to see. I mean, the Leafs practice at noon tomorrow. Who knows? He could be skating with the team by then, and we could be talking about him playing on Friday afternoon's game in Chicago. So I think that this is maybe getting a little bit overblown, but clearly there's concern. And if you're in Klingberg skates or shoes here, I mean, he's on a 1-year deal in Toronto. He wants to show his best this season. Obviously, needs to be healthy to do that. But I don't get the sense by any stretch that he's pulling the plug or anything. I think he's doing everything he can in order to get himself ready to play.
Yeah, it's the history of this team, right? It's the Robert Island stuff. It's Matt Murray just went through it, albeit had surgery and all that. It just when you get a veteran player that's not playing well that they're paying, the Leafs have a history of finding a way to get out from underneath that. And that's what's happening here, clearly, is he really struggled. He's making 4.1. Everyone knows they're calling Calgary. They want to bring in players and bring in money. How do you alleviate that stress? Well, maybe that $4.1 million disappears. Like that's
right.
That's where it's
going.
going.
I just see it as a little different than some of those past issues because I don't think he's been made to disappear by any stretch. I think he's my sense being around him a little bit here the last week or so is he's really frustrated with just where what his body's limiting from doing. It's not as though he just disappeared one day like Joffrey Lupul did all those years ago.
Right. With Chris Johnston, our TSN hockey insider. So the global series in Sweden is now behind the league, and it sounds like maybe Mexico City could be something they're looking at. You heard Matthews suggest he'd like to see that happen. I can't imagine the Leafs would be involved again. But is that kind of what you're hearing? Where do you see that going?
Well, I know certainly when Austin made that comment, it perked up some ears in the NHL's front office. And, I can tell you, I was in the interview room. It's after that win over Minnesota Sunday night. Everybody's on their way out of town. It's a pretty innocuous question by one of our European-based colleagues there. And there's a lot of ways Austin could have taken that. And I thought it was very interesting that he chose to really, I think, kind of make a pitch there for why he thinks Mexico City would be a place he'd like to play. And, why that was of interest to the league is because they've already had a number of conversations about trying to bring a game there. I think there's some challenges with venues, but certainly there's other teams that are interested in playing there. And the fact that you have someone of Matthews' stature, kind of without being asked about Mexico City in any way, take it there. I think it does add a little juice to it. And I guess, I don't think that we can say it's going to happen next season or, things like that. It's not that imminent in terms of any announcements, but I feel like after Matthews comes out and says that, could the Leafs not be part of it? I mean, it'd be pretty hard for the league to hear that, I would think, and at least not try to create the circumstances where Matthews would be part of a game like that, and so, which would obviously mean the Maple Leafs would have to be. And, his mom's Mexican, and, he mentioned that Mexico City feels like a piece of home to him. And so, it's not one of those ones where in the last 48 hours, there's now plans to take a game there, but there was already the thought it was a good idea, and I think the idea looks a lot better to the people in charge of it when you have Matthews, sort of openly campaigning the way he did in Stockholm.
CJ, when it comes to William Nylander, I know you've probably been asked this 100 times probably today, but there's bizarre takes. It's one of those things where it can go from one end of the spectrum to another. Where do you just kind of lie on the whole ordeal?
Where, like what's going to happen next with his contract, you mean? Or
just everything, because it just kind of seems like it's blown up since Sweden, and it's like 17 great games, and it's like the whole world seems to be just fascinated on how much he deserves, how much he ultimately gets, what's he worth, is he better than Marner? It's just created this life of its own.
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually talking to an agent this afternoon about something totally not related to this. He's like, I can't.
A rival agent?
Well, it's not his agent. I'll put it that way. And it was not. Our conversation was about something totally different. He goes, I can't get over how every hour there's like a new update on this guy. Like just, the minute by minute coverage of Nylander's, contract, what's going to happen has kind of gone nuts. And look, it's a kind of a perfect storm, right? I mean, we've all been through this enough. When you have a frontline player with a open question contractually, that tends to dominate our discussion here. And then on top of that, Nylander goes out and puts up points in 17 straight games. He goes to Sweden. Probably one time in his career, he's going to play an NHL game in Sweden. He has 5 points in the 2 games. He ends it with an overtime winner. He's doing talk shows in a tank top over there. Like the guy, it's almost like the fact this has all come together. And even when we were doing our hits back in mid-September, right? What was the question? Like, how's Nylander going to handle this contract year? What's the dynamic? How's this all going to work out? And I mean, it's a pretty emphatic answer over the last 6 or 7 weeks of what we've seen. And so, I do think that's why it's risen to the level it has. My sense is too that the Leafs and his agents have been pretty active in continuing to discuss a contract extension. I think both sides still have a lot of desire to get that done. I don't, no part of me senses an impasse or anything like that. I think they're trying to make it happen. And so you add it together and you bash in that it's Toronto and it's someone who's sort of just commanding the spotlight up near the league leaders in scoring really for the first time in his career this deep into a season that, on pace for 50 goals and like 130 points. It's been a crazy few weeks. Now, just if nothing happens contractually, it probably is going to settle down. I think it's fair to assume he's not going to get a point in all 82 games this year, although, I keep saying that and he just keeps doing what he's doing. But, you're right. It's a lot, but he's making it, I think he's showing us what's one thing we all know about the guy after watching him for 8 years here is, he's the perfect type of player for a market like Toronto because it seems like the more pressure's on him, the more focus is on him, he's playing even better. I don't think that any of this has phased him, and that's what you need because we've all seen players come through town that have had a lot of success elsewhere, and it doesn't translate to a market like this. But I think William almost fuels them to a degree.
Well, putting that aside, CJ, what really matters is did Willie get the team to IKEA when they were in Sweden?
I don't think so. Come on. He's way classier than that. I'm sure he had them in every hot spot in town, though. They had a great location, their hotel.
That wasn't your question?
Stockholm.
Someone was asking that question daily. Did you get the Leafs to IKEA? Did you get them to IKEA? I don't know if you're in that scrum.
I wasn't in the scrum, but one of my other Swedish colleagues actually brought up that you guys kept talking about it. So, it was like the media echo chamber. It was becoming a big deal over in Sweden that you guys were playing it up. So did you ever get the reporter on?
No, we don't even know who it was because we think the next day he followed up by asking Matthews, like kind of trying to be innocuous about it, but he's like, did you guys get up to anything yesterday? Like, I don't know.
We think IKEA planted somebody in there. Like,
what a wild
no
question.
Other reason.
What a wild question.
I mean, there's lots of other things to do in central Stockholm that I think would be way higher on the list.
Yeah, and we have IKEAs here, as everyone points out. It's massive.
Taking the team to IKEA already.
That is bonkers.
It's my favorite clip.
There's an IKEA like 4 minutes from the Leafs practice rink. Like all those guys.
No kidding.
Stop over tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's right on the Queensway, right there.
Yeah.
CJ, what do you think happens? Like, what is the next thing to happen in Edmonton if their struggles continue? We were talking about it earlier, and we kind of think that it's just you got to get a goaltender to switch it up and maybe change the mojo. Do you see that happening?
Yeah, I would say that's the likeliest outcome. At this point, I mean, there's a recognition that they haven't had enough saves there. I'm sure the problems run a little deeper than that. Having McDavid and Draisaitl be a little uncharacteristically quiet doesn't help. Some things have not gone their way, but first and foremost, they're going to need someone to stop the puck. And so I would think that would be the next place they land. And certainly sounds like they've worked the trade market to the degree they can at this early stage of the season to see what's out there. There's not, a ton of what I would call easy fixes for them or obvious fixes that are sitting there waiting to be acquired. But, you even have a player like Yaroslav Halak who just left Carolina off his PTO. Maybe he provides some kind of stopgap. Certainly played a lot in the league. I mean, I do think at some point that's going to be the next step of this thing, and it's probably got to happen quickly. I saw someone say they got to play at about 106, 107 point pace from here just to sort of get to where the typical playoff cutoff line is. And so, they're facing a pretty big uphill road, and they don't have a lot of time. And so I think that's the easiest short-term move they can make, after already changing out a coach.
Ooh, man. Yeah, that's it, right? You've already used that bullet. Like, it's already been played. The coach, you got the new guy, and he's got to try to spark something. But it is ugly, and they're off today like everyone else. I think they're in Carolina tomorrow. It's not going to get any easier for Edmonton. All right, CJ, we'll leave it there. Thank you, buddy, and good to have you back. We'll do it again soon.
All right, boys. Talk soon.
Chris Johnston, our TSN hockey analyst. Again, the timing, like we mentioned earlier, the Oilers go through Tampa, they lose. They go through Florida, they lose. Now they're up in Carolina. Like, that's a cool trip, right? You go through Florida, weather's beautiful.
Not cool anymore.
Not so much fun anymore when you're in the situation you're in. Golf Town's Black Friday sale is bigger and better than ever, and it starts this Thursday, November 23rd, in-store and at golftown.com. Listen to First Up on OverDrive on Friday for your chance to win a $500 Golf Town gift card. Plus, follow us on Instagram at TSN1050 for another chance to win. At TSN1050 on Instagram. This is your chance to save on huge store-wide and site-wide deals from the top brands in golf like TaylorMade, Callaway, Nike, Garmin, and more. Visit golftown.com for more details.
I found a date for us if we really wanted to.
Oh, really? You've been punching some numbers there, Noodles, on us getting out of town?
It's a little late. It's an April date, but I mean, it's a Tampa. Like, it's a Florida-Tampa type of look there.
I see. Late in the season.
Last game of the season for the Leafs. The Leafs play back-to-back. I think it's Florida and Tampa on the 16th, 17th. But we could do a Tampa, which is not a sports city, compared to
No, it's not. It's a terrible sports town. Terrible.
But, I mean, does Tampa have any good have any good tracks?
Tampa would have great. The thing is, by then, you're probably golfing up here again.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a vicious cycle.
I'm going to try, honestly, guys, like at some point, I'm going to try a February date.
Okay, we'll leave it to you. We'll see what you have in store. All right,
Yeah.
We'll leave it to you, and we'll see what we can make happen here.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of Florida, the Raptors are in Orlando tonight. Magic have been good. I think they're 8-5 on the season. Like they were a team that bottomed out for years. We talked about Detroit.
Years.
It really has been an eternity since they were like when Dwight Howard was there. They were in the NBA final in what 09, 2010, something like that. Like it's been a long time, and since then it has not been a good run. But they're at 8-5 now, and they're playing pretty good ball. And the Raptors are in town to tee it up. CJ Miles will join us. We'll get to our best bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Looking at the Raptor game tonight, Scotty Barnes, 6+ assists. OG Anunoby, 2+ threes made. And I'm going over the number. I think scoring is going to happen tonight. Over 215.5 points tonight. Raptors Magic. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Today's, again, best bets powered by FanDuel. Here I go again. Ron Burgundy reading the same line twice. The sweat begins at tip-off by betting your favorite NBA star to score the first basket or go for 30-plus points in a same-game parlay. Please play responsibly. 19-plus, physically located in Ontario. Yeah, that's a Doogie jam job. Doogie, you got the same line twice, man, and they'll read. And you know I Ron Burgundy these.
Oh, come on, Doogie.
If it's on the script, I will read it. It is very, very terrifying. You have my whole career in your hands.
Doogie, let's be real. That's strike one.
Yeah,
it is.
That is strike one.
Yeah, that's on the paint. And
if you jam up Hazy V like that again, it's strike two, and then you're getting written up.
Yeah, then it's very concerning. Can't happen. Of course, I could read ahead of time and make sure I don't make that mistake. But I'm a professional.
You're a flow guy. You're a flow guy.
But it's, Doogie's supposed to be helping you out there.
That's
like,
right.
That's
Hazy
his
two
role.
times. Hazy two times cannot happen.
Yeah,
Today's best
exactly.
bets are powered by FanDuel. Today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Can't happen. All right? All good, Doogie? All good. All right, CJ Miles will join us here in a moment. We're going to call him up, and we love having CJ on. We'll get his take on what he's seen out of Scotty Barnes early in the season, OG Anunoby. We keep talking about William Nylander. OG Anunoby's not far off. In terms of the numbers he's put up. He's never been the number one guy like Nylander, not been the number one guy, but first-round pick, drafted, developed. He's having a great year. Statistically, the guy's numbers are off the charts. And, I mentioned the LeBron James stats from earlier.
Right.
I just can't get over what this guy's doing in his 21st season in the league. Like, he's averaging numbers that are just absolutely absurd.
Dude, the guy's a freak, man.
Yeah.
Like, he's a freak. And although the videos seem to want to put himself in the spotlight, and then he sometimes complains about being in the spotlight, like, he's playing in this league in L.A. Maybe CJ knows the league. It's called the Drew League or something. This guy goes and plays with a bunch of regular dudes.
Yeah.
Like in the off season.
Yeah. And puts up numbers. And
well, why does he need to do that? He's just a freak.
He loves basketball. Like, he's never worried about getting injured, which is amazing. Right? He's in his 21st season, and he's had nicks and bruises the last few years. Things have flared up on him. There's an understanding. He's not going to play 82 games. But I can understand load management with LeBron. I get it.
Yeah.
I can't with Anthony Davis, but I can with LeBron. And to chat about it, among other things, including Raptors Magic tonight, here is former Raptor, longtime NBAer. You can find his podcast, the Strictly Hoops Podcast. Here's one of our favorites, CJ Miles. How you doing, CJ?
Good. How you guys doing?
We're doing well. We were just talking about LeBron, and like the guy's averaging 25 and a half, and he's in his 21st season. Like there clearly is no precedent for this. There's no comparable, I don't think, in really any other sport. Maybe Tom Brady and what he was doing. But like, at what point do you start expecting him to slow down even a little bit?
I don't know. I think the best thing about it for him is when you get to these places he's in, these uncharted waters, there's no pressure.
Right.
Like, there's no pressure anymore. He just gets to go have fun. Like, because now everything he does now is just icing on the cake, right? I lived up to the hype when I came in. I've won. I've broken records. I've done all these things, right? So now I get to this space where nobody else has been here before. I don't have to chase nobody. And everything you try to put me up against is debunked now. Like, so now we just play basketball. We just have fun, and we just listen to the body, and we just go, and hopefully I get both my sons here. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
you think he follows through on that,
myself.
CJ? You think he follows through on that, where he says he wants to play with his son? And I mean, I don't even know a lot about the son. I know he's, a prospect. I don't know how good, or even if he makes it. Like, what do you think of him saying he wants to play with him?
I looking at him today, I think it's totally possible. Looking at him right now, he could play with both of them. You know what I mean? Like, especially like you talk about, like you say, he's not going to play 82 games. He's not expected to. Like we said, like you look at the game and you look at the amount of minutes. The thing that's most impressive about him is that this is not a guy we were talking about, like, that's played 21 seasons and missed playoff years and didn't do this, do that. This is a guy that's played heavy minutes, playoffs, Olympics, to the championship, how many years in a row? To like the finals, right? So he's basically playing year round. Then he goes home and trains like a madman. The years he doesn't go to the finals, he's playing in the summer. Like, it's not like he's sitting around acting like he's made of glass, right? Trying to put himself in a bubble in the off season and not playing. Like, I think his mental capacity for this has got to be studied at some point, because that's the biggest thing with this is the mind, right? You can attest to a lot of guys, they start getting up in years and everybody around you is telling you you're old and you start to believe it. He does not look like he believes it at all.
You just said the words 82 games, and he's not going to do it. Like, it's not even a possibility. And I think a lot of guys are like that. Have you not gotten to the point where it's like, why are we playing 82? Because I think 82 is a part of the grind, and you got to get through them all. It's just the standard thing, but it's like, it's not a part of the player's grind. Nobody wants 82, so why do we have 82?
Yeah, but also when I say it, when we're just he's a very, very special case, right?
Oh, I get LeBron, but it seems like a lot of other guys don't want 82 either that don't deserve it.
So, okay, let's go with the LeBron side of this first before I get to that. The LeBron side of this is everybody in the world, like he even looks at it like, if I don't have it, then I don't have it, right? And this is about continuing to be the best I can for my team, continue to put us in the best situation to win as the year goes on. It's earned. And like you said, we get to some of these other guys that it's just either they haven't been taking care of themselves well enough to do it, or the body is just breaking down. Because now I will say guys play more than they ever have in the history of basketball, right? There's no off season. Like the second that last game is played, guys go home, and 2 weeks later they're right back with their teams. They're in LA, they're in their city they're playing in. The young guys play all year round. So now you can kind of look at it, but we're also talking about the business of basketball too. So it's hard to change that schedule up when you keep getting these TV deals that's wrapped around that number. Like, let's just keep it honest, right? There's this many teams, this many games, we sell this many tickets, we do this many things. Like, it's still entertainment. And I think that's what it comes down to, is like, how do we change that format when this format's made us so successful? The less games, the less things we get aired.
Yeah, that's why it's not likely to happen, right? I mean, they're hoping, I think that's where this in-season tournament sticks out, is they're hoping this will take 100%. On a life of itself, and then it can separate, right? And it'll really hold meaning, I think, if it's separate from the regular season. In other words, the regular season goes from 82 games down to 70, and then they find 8 to 10 games in the in-season tournament. That's how maybe you shave a little bit off, but you can sell that to someone else. You can sell it to a different network, maybe a streaming company, and maybe you can make up on the money lost that would come with actually, taking away games. And that's what they're trying. And, I mean, the Raptors are playing their second installment of the in-season tournament tonight. They're down in Orlando. Orlando's been really good this year, and I think most people are bracing for them to kind of turn the corner here. And as for the Raptors, I'm curious on your take. We haven't caught up with you yet this year, CJ, where Scotty Barnes has been really good. OG, when he's been healthy, has been outstanding. Like where are you at with the Raps, and how close to what you were expecting coming into the season have you actually seen early into the season through 13 games?
I mean, from my experience, knowing what it's like getting a new coach, especially when it's not a coach that was already there. It's not like Nick Nurse moving into the head spot, or like when I was in Indiana and Nate McMillan moved into Vogel's spot. It's not a lot of familiarity. Like Dennis Schroeder had familiarity with the guy, obviously, because they've been somewhere together. But it's just a lot of habits you're trying to break, a new system, new ideals, new things you're trying to do, especially with some guys that have been here that have been successful. And then you got young guys you're trying to integrate. So there's a lot of pieces moving around, a lot of things going. Still, super talented, right? A lot of talented. That first unit, you still kind of worry about this floor spacing, even though OG's shooting it great. Dennis has the capability to be able to shoot it. Scotty's showing he's going to get better at it, right? But they're still not shooters, right? There's not moving situations. They don't shift defenses, really. There's no real fear of anybody besides OG, and it's still pretty much standstill. But I still see them as being able to put a lot of things together, because defensively they play hard, they're long, they get a lot of deflections. OG is amazing defensively, been great. It's been that way for a couple of years now, right? Guys come in there and they're thinking about him already. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like, he's already won half the battle now because he's done so much of the work. So now guys come in thinking about what they got to do against him. Scotty Barnes being the second best defender, who is still a monster also on that end. And the thing I like about Scotty now is that I love him as a second primary ball handler, because he's looking to make plays. He's gotten really good in the pick and roll. His pace is really good. He's showing he can make the three-pointer a little bit off the dribble, so now you can't really totally disrespect him when he's in those plays. There's so many pieces, and you got young guys that are coming up that are just figuring out their roles, and it's hard to really speak on them completely because some of these guys have been waiting for an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And there's so much they have to learn that only gets cured by minutes. That's the only thing that cures this right now, for the rotation and figuring guys out. But the best thing is that you have a lot of guys that can play, and it keeps fires lit. It keeps the competition burning. It keeps guys hungry. They're fighting for minutes. You got the situation with Chris Boucher, right, who plays anywhere else he's at, the way he's been playing. But this is the way we're looking at it right now. A couple of injuries that has got it moving a little bit. But at the same time, they have potential to be very, very, very good.
with CJ Miles, like you mentioned, the coaching change, and Nurse was an example of that here. He was on Dwayne Casey's staff for years.
Mm-hmm.
And, Darko's come in, and he's trying to have a really positive and optimistic attitude. And, I'm sure you played for every type of coach throughout your life, uber positive, uber negative, everything in between. Yeah. I'm curious, how long you think, how long do the players feel like that can keep up? Like, is that if it's in his DNA, I guess you expect that he'll show up with a smile on every single day. Mm-hmm. But is there a part of you that's bracing for a blow up if the team struggles 2-3 games in a row? Where do the players stand on the approach of the coach and the general attitude of a new coach?
I think I don't know if they're waiting, but they're definitely watching to see, just how he handles every situation, right? Like, how are you going to serve this thing when it's not serving you? And the same with the coaches and the players. Like, when you're not getting all the shots you want, are you still going to play hard on defense? Are you still going to buy in? Are you still going to be the motivational guy? When guys are missing assignments and not doing what they're doing, are you going to let them sit in their funks? Or are you going to show them, no matter who you are on my roster, that I'm willing to take you out of this game and sit you down? Or are you going to come in here today and still believe that we can fix what's going on? Or are you going to break before we do? Are you going to let us go back to playing just one-on-one basketball and the ball not moving? Like they're both waiting to see who's willing to fight for this thing. The thing I like about Darko, though, is that he's brought in these new things and he's staying positive, but he's standing firm also. He's standing firm on certain things, and he's showing that, just because I'm positive does not mean that I'm a pushover. And I think we get that with some guys. Guys will see a positive coach and test them. Like, I'm good enough for him to just break for me. Right? Like, we see that around the league. We got guys demanding trades and doing this or coming into systems and playing the way they want to play and not really buying into systems because they think they really good. And this is not directed at one person, even though we all can think of one person that it could be about, right?
Yes.
But we've been seeing it for a long time. And that's the danger of, the power that players get. They should have power. They do make the league go, and guys do earn. But when it becomes just about them and not really about winning or just about figuring out how to make things work, then it gets dangerous. So both sides got to be really held accountable. And I think Darko's doing a good job of understanding that my system, yes, how I want to play, does not mean I can force a player that if he might not fit what I'm looking for to play this way, I have to deal with what's in front of me. And I think that's been the great thing about it. He understands that Flynn is young and he needs to have his confidence high to be able to play because he's been waiting 4 years to do this. Him talking about keeping a smile on his face. Understanding that Pascal is really good in the post, even though he wants the ball to move, so you find quicker ways to get him in those spaces. Understand Scotty Barnes is still expanding his game, so you make sure it's open enough for both of those guys to be able to operate. You get them out of the game where they're not always in at the same time. Dennis needs open space. Understanding what Jakob does. And you see those guys finding their niche. It's just going to take time.
The podcast is the Strictly Hoops podcast. He is former Raptor, longtime NBAer, CJ Miles. Always love having you on, CJ. Really appreciate you doing this, and we'll do it again down the road.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all every time. Thank y'all.
You got it. CJ Miles. That's a great breakdown, and he's right.
Yeah.
It is. I'm sure you guys have been in that role before. There's kind of a, it's almost a standoff. Like, all right, we got a new coach here. What's he all about? He's got no track record as a head coach in the NBA.
I never had to deal with it, Brian. I never had some young guy where it's like, I've had Paul Maurice walk in the room, and I was 18, so him being 28 did not faze me one bit. I was still, that's the guy, and he's the head coach, and I don't know. And then I just stayed with him for a long time, and then it was Lavi, and then Pat Quinn. Like, I didn't have that one guy. But mind you, in Hartford, when Paul Maurice walked in that locker room, there was Brendan Shanahan, Brad McCrimmon, a bunch of older guys, where they were probably eyeballing him saying, what is this guy all about?
Yeah.
A 28-year-old guy from junior is now, he was an assistant coach for 7 games, and now he's the head coach. And everybody knew they wanted him to be the head coach because Homer got fired 7 games in. So I'm sure those guys were like, let's see what you got.
Yeah. That would have been a test.
Yes.
For sure. Definitely.
Well, the new athlete too. Nowadays, like you're always having to prove yourself to. If you're a coach, you're still having to prove yourself to these players who hold the hammer. I mean, they've got long-term deals. They're getting paid.
And they're all about what can you do for me. It's not about how can we get this thing winning games. It's what can you do for me to help me have individual success. And it's just a lot different. Yeah. I agree with Sam Mitchell, man. It's like you got to figure out a way somehow to pay these guys for wins. Wins, man. Not luck. Individual stuff, wins.
Yeah. That's the plan. That's what you're you think you're investing in that. Right?
Oh yeah.
Like you're
That's my old man always tells me that. They get that money for wins. Not for anything else, to win games.
Yeah.
It's true.
It should be. You're right. But it's not. It's not. I mean, the guys that win do get paid. Like, that goes without saying. If you win, if you have a track record of winning, you're going to get paid. But you got to fill 30 rosters in the NBA, 32 in the NHL, 32 in the NFL.
Yeah.
And it's only going to keep expanding, and there's got to be teams
filling
at the bottom.
spots. There's organizations that are paying guys in the NBA in different leagues a boatload of money knowing they're going to be trash.
Yeah. Knowing it. Filling out a game sheet, being like,
Fred VanVleet is a great example. They're shoving 40 sheets in his jeans per year, and they're trash.
Danny Dimes.
Danny Dimes got paid, man. Although Danny Dimes did get the Giants to the playoffs last year, Noodles.
That's true. That is true.
He was technically a winner, and Fred's got a ring, but Houston's been all right, actually. They've lost 3 in a row. They were red hot for a bit. Now they're coming back to life a little bit, back to reality a bit. But, that's the nature of the beast. You got a players association. You got to fill out rosters. Someone's got to get paid, and someone's got to play. Tomorrow's going to be a big day on the show because we're picking games. Like, everyone's wondering, like, when does Hayes and Bro make more picks? When's it coming? When are we going to make more picks? Tomorrow we'll make more picks. And Thursday we'll make more picks. And Friday we're going to make more picks. Because we got an 8-pack of games this week, Noodles. We got 3 on Thursday, 1 on Friday, a 3-pack on Sunday, and the Monday Nighter. So this is the swing. You guys keep talking a big game about how this is it. Put up or shut up. The professional athletes are going to close it. This is a massive swing this weekend.
Dude, let's just put it on the table. This is the whole shooting match.
Yeah, it feels like it. Feels like it. And Hayes and Bro, we don't miss. We shoot, we hit the target. We are 3-0 right now. And we'll see what you guys are made of. More picks tomorrow. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, so the Raptors are in action tonight. That's about it. You got that and 4 more NBA games tonight. Lakers are playing. Tomorrow, a bunch of NHL games, NBA games. Big bar night in the U.S. tomorrow, as you guys have stated many times before.
The turkey dump.
Yes,
out too.
That's another thing, right? And then football Thursday, football Friday. The Leafs are playing Friday. Got Michigan, Ohio State on Saturday. It's a big, big college game.
Is Jimmy Harbaugh back?
I don't believe so. I think he accepted his suspension. Yeah, he's out. And that game's at Michigan. And Ohio State,
Dude, what the hell was he up to anyway?
Well,
stealing signs?
Yeah, the allegation was that he was sending someone out like ahead of the game to be on the sideline stealing signs from the team they were playing in the future. Wow. Yeah, and that it might have been tipped off by like coaches in the Big Ten. Maybe it was the head coach at Ohio State. Anyway, Michigan's been crushing teams. Ohio State is as well. Like, they're both undefeated. I think Ohio State's ranked number 2 and Michigan's ranked number 3. We had a great game on Saturday.
Big time.
Yeah. And like the Americans know how to Thanksgiving. They really know how to Thanksgiving. The eating, the shopping. It's crazy.
Partying, everything. I've been to Vegas on American Thanksgiving.
Ooh.
Like, that was...
It's got to be kind of depressing.
No, it's never depressing, man. Everyone just goes to their high school bar and just gets wasted, dude.
Vegas, though.
Yeah. Vegas was fun. It was fun.
You had a good time in Vegas?
I went right from the bar to a cab line, and the lineup was like an hour long to get. I almost missed my flight. It was ridiculous.
Never know.
Never know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what
on.
it sounded like. I love the Vegas airport. There's just like slots everywhere. You can gamble everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just degeneracy.
I forgot to bring this up on yesterday's show. So I'm at Two Cats having a drink the other night, and a guy, and it's loud. Music's going on, and with a couple of buddies, and this guy just walks by and taps me, and he goes, "Hayes is a fraud." Kept walking. I swear on my life, I just started laughing. Like,
I can't handle it, man. I'm telling you, I'm out in public with my kids, and people are like, "Hey, You're a fraud. And then they just leave. I'm like, thank you.
It was just
Thanks
the most
so much.
random transaction. Like, my buddies are like, what was that all about? I'm like, I can't
A long
even explain
story,
it.
man.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about it.
Yeah,
Don't even
so
worry about
funny.
it.
I
All
loved
right.
it.
Well, it'll be a fun one tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Picks are upcoming. That means Al's brother will make his triumphant return. Hayes and Bro are 3-0 on their picks. A dynasty has been created. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. As always, we appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. Radio, TV, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy your games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
Timmy,
Boil on your ass.
4 p.m. 4